If you've seen the movie Lion, you really want to watch this interview. And if you haven't seen the movie Lion yet, after this interview, you will watch that movie. Hi, everyone. I'm Marjolein de Boer from The Human Factor, and I'm here with Mary McLaughlin from Railway Children. Welcome, Mary.
Hello, it's so good to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
So great to have you. So before we start our conversation, of course, about Railway Children, let me first introduce why we're having this conversation together. Because my company, The Human Factor, finds social responsibility really important. And that's why we're focusing on some great causes to support. And this interview is really all about lifting those causes up. Of course, the causes that we support play a very central role in the human factor, and Railway Children is, of course, one of them. So I feel really honored to have you, Mary. And of course, the first question is what Railway Children actually does.
Yes, so we're an international children's charity. We're based in the UK, and we were set up about 26 years ago now by a gentleman that worked in the UK rail industry. He worked for British Rail, and he's a lovely guy. He's still involved with the charity today, and he was inspired to set up the charity after travelling to India on a business trip. And it was when he was there that he was working with the railway industry in India, and he just saw how many young children were living in and around the railway stations there, and how badly they were treated and ignored. They were just kind of there. Nobody was doing anything to help them. It was just like they were part of the furniture. So he came back to the UK, and he used his networks. You know, he had great networks across the business in the UK, and he just spent some time researching the issue and travelling to other countries that had put in place projects to help solve similar issues, and from there Railway Children was born. So since then we've actually expanded this work into East Africa, so we've worked in Tanzania and Kenya, and then most recently we started working in the UK. So the work is slightly different in each country, but the premise is still the same. So we kind of have three aims. The first of which is to provide immediate protection for children that are found alone and vulnerable on the streets or on the rail networks. So after we provide that immediate protection, we then work to either reunify those children with their families if it's safe to do so, or to integrate them into an adopted family, a foster family, or a long-term care facility. And this model that we developed in India just has really worked very well. So when we first started working in India, it was averaging about 18 million children who were living on the streets in the country, which is just a phenomenal figure. But since then, we're working across 10 of the major cities, and that number has greatly reduced. And our CEO, Tarina, who travels back and forth to India quite often, she just remarks on how incredible it is to see just that huge reduction in the number of children that are living around the railway network, and also the attitudes of the people that work on those stations towards children that do turn up at the station alone. So I think the fact that work is having an impact, we're moving in the right direction. The ultimate aim of the charity is that no child is living on the streets. Obviously it'll take a while to get to that point, but we're very much moving in the right direction. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do.
Wow. I think it's so amazing when I watched the movie Lion, and I think a lot of people with me, I cried a lot. Yeah. It was actually quite a depressing movie to watch. Yeah. But when the movie ended, I mean, it ends in a good way, right? For those of you who haven't seen the movie, Lion is about a little boy who basically gets lost, gets into a train and travels 2 days across India and ends up in Calcutta. And he's 5 years old. And I'm not going to be a spoiler, so if you haven't seen it, watch it. But the things that you do see in this movie is that you basically, and I think that's what Real Rate Children does, you need to be there fast, right?
Yeah.
Because once the kids are lost and they get on the streets, then, they either get into gangs or into mafia kind of systems where they need to beg for money or they get abused. So you need to be quick, right, to be able to save their lives.
Definitely. I mean, the rail network is a real magnet for vulnerable children because it provides a really easy way for children to run away and to move long distances in quite a short period of time. So if they're running away from violence or abuse at home, it's an easy way for them to get away. And the stations in India are so chaotic and busy that it's quite easy, like in the case of the Lion film, for children just to get lost and separated. But criminal gangs know that area is a great place to pick out those children and groom them and get them involved in their gangs, in their activity, in child slavery, all that kind of stuff. So, and you're right about the speed. So I was lucky enough to go out to India and visit our projects there back in 2019. And I visited one of the stations that we operate in and was walking kind of around the station. So we have our project workers there 24/7 on the lookout for children that are alone. And she was telling me that they have about 20 minutes from a child arriving at that station or becoming separated from their family before they know that somebody else will be there to pounce. So they have to be really on it. They know exactly what they're looking for. And the great thing about the way that we work is that we don't just have our project workers, we train everyone that works on that station. So from the police, the railway workers, right down to the vendors that are selling water and snacks, we train them all how to spot vulnerable children and what to do if they do see someone that they think is in danger, so that then they can report them to us or they can bring them to our child help desk that we have in the station, just so we've got everyone's eyes and ears always aware that these children could be arriving and to quickly act to make sure that they don't get dragged into that street life, because once they do, it's so hard to get them because they're so quickly taken away and hidden away, and then they're really hard to get to. So yeah, you're right, the speed is so important.
Yeah, and I can imagine, Mary, but of course you know this way better than I do, but the causes that kids get lost are so different,
Yes.
right? I can imagine there are children from very poor families, and that a family member says, well, you work in Delhi because your uncle works there, and not even realizing that Delhi is a multi-million city where kids will never find their uncle, from really literally getting lost, right?
Literally.
The variety will be very big onto what happens to these kids, how they get lost.
Yeah,
probably,
definitely.
Right?
We kind of talk about it as in push factors and pull factors. So push factors can be that real poverty in the home where children get to the age of maybe 12 or 13 and they feel like they need to be going out and finding a job and bringing money into the home. So that, like you said, they'll think, right, Delhi is a big city, I'll find work there. They'll get on a train and arrive and just realise that they're in this huge city, no idea what to do, where to go, and from there it can just end in crisis. Or it can be, like we said, abuse or neglect or violence in the home that just pushes kids to run away. Or they can just be lost, literally get lost. There was a case which is quite similar to the Lion case where two young boys were just chasing after their dad's little cart as he was going from place to place in the village that they were from, and they suddenly realised they were so far from home and they were lost and they couldn't see their dad's cart anymore and they just didn't know what to do. So they got on a train thinking it might take them back home and ended up miles and miles and miles away, arrived at the station, and luckily they were spotted straight away. they were quickly worked out where they came from, and they were reunified with their family. So in some cases it is just that they got lost. And actually in that visit that I went to India, I was visiting one of the shelters that we run near the station. So whenever a child is found, if it's the case that their family isn't in the station and they need somewhere to stay whilst we work out what's happened, we have these short-term shelters that are lovely. They're nicely decorated. The kids get their nice 3 nutritious meals a day while they're staying there, and that's where our project workers will just work out their backstory, find out where they've come from, why they've ended up at the train station. So I was visiting this shelter, and there was 2 young boys being reunited with their family that day, and they'd just been lost. But I think it had been about 5 weeks, because it had taken, India's a huge country, so it can take quite a lot of time sometimes just to work out where the children have come from, to get in contact with them and to make that connection again. And the parents were just, they were just in tears, because they were reunited with their children that, to them, their boys had just disappeared one day, and they had no clue where they'd gone, no idea how to get them back. They just didn't know where to start with it. So to get that call from our project team to say, we've got them, they're safe, we're going to get you back together again, that's just the best thing you can do, isn't it? So yeah, it was an incredible scene to see them being reunited, and just so happy.
And I think it's so great that it doesn't end at those first 20 minutes that are so important, but that you really work on either getting the kids back to their families if possible, if it's safe, and if it's not safe, that you're really looking for a place where they will be safe, they will be educated, they will have warmth, love, and food and shelter. Yeah,
exactly. Because the best thing is for a child to be with their family. So in some cases it can take a while to get to that point, but our team, that's the ultimate aim. So it can mean that we have to do family work to tackle the issues that led to that child wanting to run away. So whatever it might be, counselling sessions, a whole host of different things. Our main aim is to try and get that family working together again, stronger, happier, and just moving in a more positive direction. So that's the best outcome. But like you said, in some cases that just can't happen for whatever reason. So yeah, that's where we'll work to settle them into a nice, happy, safe home, and then they can go on from there. But yeah, the family work is really important. And actually during the pandemic, that was kind of one of the silver linings, in that the rail network in India completely shut down. So our model of how we work had to change. So we did a lot of kind of emergency response work. So we were giving out emergency food hampers and hampers full of emergency supplies. We were helping with the vaccination program, all of that kind of stuff. But we also did a lot more work in the community. So we know where the hot spots are, where a lot of children run away from. So we kind of had the time during the pandemic to go into those communities and just start to do more work to strengthen them, to help change the attitudes towards children, to give them a voice, and to make adults realise that, children have rights. You have to treat them a certain way to make them happy and to make them into happy, positive adults. And that's work that we're going to continue. So we're at the moment in the process of writing our next 5-year strategy, and that community work and community strengthening work is going to be a big part of what we do going forwards, to add to the work that we do at the stations and giving that immediate response, because we want to prevent children ending up in that situation. We need the process there to help those kids and to catch them when they do arrive in that situation, but we really want to prevent them feeling like they have to run away in the first place. So yeah, that was a small silver lining of the pandemic. There wasn't many, but that was one.
Wow, yeah. That is so amazing. Yeah, and I think, if you can do both, so you can help out where help is needed immediately, but you can also look at the prevention side of this bigger problem, and that's a big elephant that you're eating. But I think that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Mary, I can't even imagine that people aren't inspired by your story about what Railway Children is doing. We've been focusing our talk a little bit more on India, but you already mentioned you're also working in other countries as well. What can people do to help you out with the mission that you're on also for the next 5 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing and the easiest thing is to donate money. And I know a lot of charities say that, and there's so many charities out there asking for your support. And we understand that there's only so much people can do to give. But it really is a case that every little bit does help. I mean, we're quite a small charity, and the bulk of the money that we get comes from individual donations. So it's all those individuals pledging their support and giving a small amount that adds up to make us really be able to do this work and to look forward and to look bigger and to reach those aspirations that we have and reach more children. And I think it's very easy for us to sit in our positions of privilege, and we can see stuff on the news, and we recognise that not everyone lives in the same position that we do, and you can feel a little bit helpless. But I think just supporting a cause that is on the ground, that is making that change in the lives of these children every day, and really working towards making a more positive community in these countries, it really does make all the difference. So yeah, donating is really easy. You can have fundraising events, you can take part in events, whatever it is that you want to do that generates those funds just makes all the difference to us.
And the ideas that I also always really like is, when you have your birthday, ask people to donate money, right? And then Railway Children, of course, is a good cause to think about.
Exactly.
Yes, and any kind of celebration. You can't celebrate your birthday now with a lot of people anyways.
Exactly.
So why not celebrate it that way, right?
And you'll get that warm glow. Like, it does make you feel better. It really does. And we keep all of our supporters updated about, what that money has gone towards, and we'll share stories about the children that we've been able to help. So we really do try and kind of bring you closer to that work, because I mean, I used to work for a cancer charity and a cancer hospital near where I live, and it was a bit easier there to get people to fundraise and donate, because they could see what it was going towards. They could visit the building or see the fancy new piece of machinery that we've been able to buy. This is a different concept. It's a bit harder for people to see that, so we work really hard to just bring you closer to the cause and really make you understand the impact that you're having. So yeah, I would say it's a great charity to support. Like I said, we're quite small, but we do make a big impact. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Great. Well, I totally think and hope that you'll get a lot more donations going through this talk and inspire more people. Mary, thank you so much for your time and all of your information. It was really great to hear more thoroughly about what Railway Children does. And I can imagine if people would like to donate, visit the website, right?
Yes.
Railway Children.
Yeah.
You have
the website.
This big button where you can press on.
Yes, there's a big donate button, so you can donate directly there. You can donate via Facebook or just giving. There's quite a few different ways that you can donate, and then you can find out more about what we do on our social media channels. So on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, it's just @Railway Children, and you can read those stories about the children that we've helped to support and find out a bit more about that work. So yeah.
And of course, also on my website, humanfactor.io, you can also find all the information about Railway Children, also the website, but also the direct link to be able to donate. Thanks so much for your time, Mary.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching and listening, everyone, and I'll see everyone for the next episode.